Hello. So today we are interviewing Damion, better known as Blacks, from Moss Side Talk TV. Damion.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Yes, I'm well.
Yeah.
So, shall I call you Damion or Blacks?
Just call me Blacks, because most people who know me as Blacks. But my family name is Damien. So, yeah. But I don't mind you calling me Blacks, because
Is it a street name?
it is a street name. So well, I'm from Jamaica, as you probably, But in Jamaica, in our culture, all of us got a street name, or what we call an alias name. Yeah, almost everyone anyway. So yeah, my name is Blacks, because my surname is Blackwood, and then my dad was called Blacks. But then as soon as I got older, I got the name Blacks, and then my dad became Blacker. So so you can call me Blacks, yes.
When people call you by Damion, like, do you respond, like, or?
I do, but it takes me a millisecond or two, because I have to check. Is that me? Because I mostly been known as Blacks, yeah.
I hear you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to know because so many people have different conceptions about street names. And the same goes for the conceptions about the West Indian and African cultures and communities.
Yes.
So hearing this is really refreshing and also hopefully helps people who are listening in to realise a little bit more about some of the material that you cover, why you cover it, and where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So on that note, can you just tell me a bit about your latest venture, Moss Side Talk TV, and where you began and what's inspired you to do this, Blacks?
Well, Moss Side Talk TV. Well, basically, I've seen all these guys doing vlogging and that, so I just thought, it's something that I could try, because I didn't thought of it as a business or anything like that. I just look at it and thinking, okay, I could do it. Yeah.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
It's
Vlogging.
everywhere. Vlogging is everywhere. So I've seen the guys in Jamaica doing it. So I thought, okay. So basically, I started on the street corner, recording these guys talking about sound system and its culture. And one of the guy that was on it was Super Click, a guy called Caveman. There's a few guys, Horseman. So they was talking, and we was all talk. Well, I was recording, they was talking, and I was just laughing. But I asked the permission, am I allowed to record? And no one didn't mind. So I started that one, and that was my first video that I put out. So.
And was it the conversation? Was it the vibe? Or was it just genuinely, I don't know, was it a curiosity as to what reactions people would give?
It was a bit of both, because it's more like the vibe and showing people, abroad, like in Jamaica, what it's like for us Jamaican, because when I was in Jamaica, I used to imagine Jamaicans in foreign or whichever foreign country it is, what the lifestyle or what it would look like, So little stuff like that, I thought that it would probably connect with the Jamaican culture, but it take off a bit more than I expected it to, because I start doing like funerals and stuff like that, wakes, and it's starting to become a bit more sentimental to the community. So I start realizing that yes, it might be becoming something more than I expected. So. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it could go two ways. It's also opening up the minds of other cultures, maybe to that vibe and what it's like living in Moss Side, especially.
Exactly.
I don't know if you feel how I have, but that representation hasn't always been positive.
No. So I've lived in Moss Side now, or been around Moss Side now for about 20 years. And yes, I remember working in town back in the day, like maybe 2002, 2003, and your postcode was an issue when you lived in Moss Side, and you go there and people are like, oh, is that where you're from? Moss Side? And like, okay. But at the time, I didn't know any better, because I was kind of new to the whole thing, but I could see there was some form of curiosity or whatever the word is that you put around that, it was there. So the stigma was on my side was always
That's something that I'm acutely aware of as well.
Yes.
Coming from just outside the area, I was born and raised in Hume.
Yes.
And some of the other surrounding areas of Withington and Fallowfield, and we were all very aware of the postcode stigma. And I'm sure that it acted as an obstacle for many young people trying to grow up and grow out of the community and emerge as the real true versions of who they are. And unfortunately that bottlenecking seems to have had like negative repercussions. But here you are, you're getting a lens and you're capturing that community for what it is.
It is.
And that must be really really relieving, I think, maybe. Do you get a lot of positive feedback? What kind of positives come from this?
I do get a lot of positives because for me personally, the most positives is like for the community members who can't be out there like that. Like, for example, they're not mobile, or for example, disabled, or for whatever the reasons are that they're not able to be at certain events, or even to know what's going on in the community. For me, I kind of enjoy the pleasure of just putting that out there, that knowing that someone can stay inside and just get, or just keep in tune with what's going on outside, because some people genuinely don't know. I've had response like people, oh, I can't believe that person died. Like, for example, Mr. Chips. I had people text, well, Mr. Chips died, vampire people see it. They can't believe certain people, because they didn't know, didn't even heard of it until they've seen it on Mosai Talk TV. So that kind of give me a bit of some form of comfort, knowing that I'm doing something positive. And when I see like the elderly people see me and they're like, oh son, you're doing a good job, it gives me a warm feelings. And it makes me want to, just continue doing it and try to, even do better,
Have you had any feedback from beyond the community as well? I mean, that's fabulous. And like you say, keeping people informed within the community. But have you ever had anybody feedback in from outside of the community?
Yeah, trust me. Like, the way, like, Canada, loads of places, because people just tell it like, oh, loads of, what I've realized about Moss Side is there is more people living out Moss Side that's from Moss Side than people living in Moss Side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they've moved on, they've moved out further.
For whatever the reasons are. And it seems like, and it gives me that kind of Jamaican, because it's the same situation in Jamaica. There's more Jamaicans that live outside Jamaica than in Jamaica. Yeah, but most people don't. And it's the same feelings I'm getting with Moss Side, because the response you're getting, like you're realizing there is more people actually out of Moss Side that's from Moss Side, was born and raised there, but for whatever reasons they've moved. Yeah, so
but they like to stay in touch.
They like to stay, and this is
a reassuring thing, isn't it?
It is, and it's a great way of knowing that they can use it. All I say to people is just try and be positive, and try and show the support in the right way,
That's fantastic. For people to still be tuning in after they've moved on with their lives and even moved continent, that says a lot about the community and that positive vibe that is in Moss Side.
It is.
When you first came upon this venture and you were saying to me, you're there with a couple of friends and acquaintances and you're filming, that point of inspiration for you, like... How did that feel? What, where does that inspiration come from?
So like I said, at the time, I didn't really feel anything, but I was just having fun with the guys. And like I said, as I go along, I was just putting out content, just little stuff, just, on the street corner, talking, just putting out stuff. But then, like I said, as we go along and we start making certain conversation, and then, like I said, when there was a few... people that passed from the community, which was, very, well-known members of the community. Yes, that's when I started realizing that there was more people relying on the channel, just little stuff like that. Because, like I said, there's stuff going on and people are inside and they don't know what's going on in the community, you know.
Yeah. And in an educational, in an informative way as well.
Yeah.
You know, we recognise that, you know, there are a lot of passings and funerals and people like to be informed.
Yeah.
How do you find it getting all of the stages of the funeral, burial,
Yes.
celebration of the life interwoven in your work?
So that's a good question, because the way I look at it is, I leave the inside of the church to the family, because I believe that's personal. So for most the funerals that I do, I don't really film the churches or the inside. I leave that. So what I do is mostly just go on the outside and capture the atmosphere on the outside. So more like the celebration of the person's life rather than the mourning. So it's one and the same, but we are there celebrating the life. You know, most time I'm playing music out my car, just little stuff like that, just keeping the atmosphere, because we Caribbean people, that's what we know. We know music, we know partying, you know, and that's our life. So even I said when I pass, you know, which I know one day I will, I hope that I'll get a big party, you know. So it's just the same. So just making that day a special day, a very special day for whoever that person is. Because my say is, you live for the day you die, you know, and that day should tell you who you are, who you was as a person, you know, and how you've been represented, how you represent yourself, or how you represent your life, per se.
Thank you. It is difficult, I'm sure, with a camera to enter a church during the services.
Yes.
But that is actually the most important part of
Yes.
of the process, isn't it?
It is.
And then we have the burial
Yeah.
procedure in the process in the cemetery, and then
Yeah.
we go on to share food and break bread with one another.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the celebration is the
Celebration
fourth
of
stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that context is hard to maintain so that it doesn't appear? How are you going to work to make sure that that context remains set, so that people who aren't from the culture that we're from
Yeah.
can also understand that there is a huge element prior to the celebratory stage?
Yeah.
Is this something that's maybe a question that you'd like to kind of make to some of the people? Or?
Well, the plan for that is basically what I'm trying to do is try to separate the channels and try to build different channels. So, for example, for some for like funerals, we'll have a direct channel just for stuff like. So, occasion like inside the church, I could probably become a bit more personal, because now I know that I will have somewhere, what's the right word? Professional or appropriate, should I say, is the right word, to put those content. But at the moment now, all the contents are mixed because of all over the place. But the whole idea is just to try and get, so the more we become organized, then yes, that's the whole plan, just to get things in context. So yes, recording I wouldn't mind doing that, because like I said, creating the memory, and that's what I realized, that it's starting to become, it's not a pressure, but it's starting becoming, not sure of the right word, but now I've got to be more responsible in the way I do things, because now people are relying on the content that I put up to watch, you know. And if 5 months, 5 years down the line, someone wants to go back and look at the dad's funeral or the dad's party, that's where they need to go, or that's where they would like to go, you know what I mean? Or that's where they could direct someone else to go, overseas. It's little stuff like that.
This is a fantastic response, because in every walk of life, every venture that we ever come on to,
Yes.
we are learning all the time.
Yes, we do.
And from that moment where you started with that conversation with those guys on the street,
Yeah.
to now,
Yeah.
You know, that's a learning process, a huge learning process. And also the visibility you're offering so many. So you started off with zero views.
Yeah.
What are you up to now?
Well, my biggest views I've got is probably 90K so far on one video. Yeah. So that's my biggest video. But
90,000 views.
yeah.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great because it makes you feel rewarded, like you are doing something. And actually, the night when I was going to view, when I was going to record that event that gives me the 98,000 views, I was contemplating whether or not, because it was all the way in Birmingham, and I thought, should I go or should I not go? Because I run a business, so sometimes I like to think out the box in a certain sense, like securing myself. So I don't like to leave myself carelessly, like, you know what I mean? If I'm going to go Birmingham, I need to know that I'm going to get there, you know what I mean, within a certain time, and I'm going to be able to come back home, get rest, wake up the next morning on time to open my business.
It's a big personal endeavour, isn't it? You're actually going out of your way, clearly, using your own resources to, again, bring context to how far, how wide our community reaches, and bringing that back into us and putting it out there on the internet so that we've got a full and accurate representation of our community. I think it's absolutely astounding what you're doing, and long overdue for what it's worth. Honestly, going back to what I said before, I think there's been a lot of misrepresentation, but somebody who's striving for the correct representation and in context is fantastic. Blacks.
Thank you.
You got a thanks from me there. So we've talked about community voice and community reach. Have you had many people approach you who are starting new business ventures, maybe, who are looking for a bit of PR, a bit of publicity?
I have. I've had a few. Really, because, and like I said, that's my whole plan, is to try and help people as much as I can. Because this is not just for me, you know. Like I said, it's about the community for me, you know. Trying to help as many people to get in positions as possible, And if using my channels as a ladder to get there, then as long as they come with the appropriate content and the appropriate approach, then we are in. You know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And what a confidence boost for those people as well, to know that you're accessible, you're understanding, you're from that community. You know? It's invaluable resource. Anybody from Moss Side who's listening to this conversation, you know, that is an open opportunity there for you to tune into Blacks and some of the amazing work he's doing.
Thank you.
Is everyone on board? I'm going to ask this one just to throw it out there.
No, this is us, you know.
It's always the way. You get 50-50, don't you? 50 are in favour usually, 50% maybe not so much.
It's not even 50-50, I would say. I would probably say 96 to 4%.
Right, okay.
That's what I would put it down to, because the 4%, which is the minute majority, basically, is the one who complained mostly about the camera. And it's just simple stuff. It is and it isn't, because, you know, a couple of people complained that they should have been in work and they took the skive off work, and I understand that, and I don't want to be that channel to get people, you know what I mean. A couple of people might be in positions or situations where they're not supposed to be, so then the camera might caught them off guard, and I don't really want to be the stirrer, you know, in the household. So yes, you're gonna have a couple what should I say, unwillingly fans, you know, and unsupportively, but that's life, you know. It comes with negatives and positives, you know. So like I said, for me, the positives is the elderly people who I know, and like I said, I even see the grandkids come to me because they can't come out, and says, oh, my grandma watch you every day, or my granddad watch you. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. So.
And this is it. When you also work on the high street, don't you? So you've got people who are coming in and giving you this feedback all the time.
Yeah.
So the positive feedback, 96% sounds really good to me.
That's what I would say, yes.
And for those who fall in the 4%, is it like a face blur or a clip of the video? How does that work? Is there a process for that?
It could be like someone just contacting me and says, listen, I didn't want to be on the video or whatever, and I just cooperate, because for what it might cause, I don't want to cause anyone any hurt, or like I said. So for me, I don't have any issues. I've deleted video. People around me says, listen, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't want to be in the video. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've just deleted video, because to all that time and effort, the views, obviously, which is what I, you know what I mean? All that is gone. But like I said, for me personally, I would rather to have nothing there than to mess someone else's life up. You know what I mean? But what I would also say is people still need to be responsible when they are out, you know.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's about taking a little bit of responsibility for your own actions
Yes.
too. Absolutely. The art of surveillance.
Well.
Whoever knew. So, what's next? Where are you going?
Well, the plan for me, like I said, is just to expand and try to get on probably a global scale, to try and, you know, have a team, you know, of people from the community. Yeah, you know, like the plan is to try and employ local people from the community to try and see if they can, you know what I mean, do work for the channel, you know, and at least maybe learn how to create their own business as well, you know what I mean? So it's just little steps. If people want to get on board, you know what I mean, they could probably just get in contact with me, you know what I mean? We could try and sort something out, you know, just start at just creating content, get paid for working basically, but at the same time you're learning something to create your own channel or to make your own money, you know? And that's what I say. So for me, there is no limit. And like I said, bringing the community together, trying to get certain benefits from this channel. One of my main issues, the young black kids, or the young black boys, should I say, because the girls are doing a lot better in the community than the boys are, yeah? And that's one of my main issues. If I could get, you know, 5 black boys off the street into a school or into a uni or whatever, that to me would be a great achievement, because without straying from the topic from what you've asked me, one of my plans was to try and create a private lesson, a school for the week, teaching kids 3 times a week, private school, teaching the kids and then basically try and get them to do the entrance test to get to like St. Bede's private, where they can't afford to go to get to the grammar school, and if I could get 2 kids graduating a year from that, that's a great achievement from the community.
Just goes to show what a little bit of vision can do, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, talking about television and talking about the young people's visions and how we can help them to look further ahead towards incredible opportunities that are on the doorstep yet seem so far away. And
that's it. And I believe, you know, it's all about being a great example, you know. And I always say you shouldn't judge the book by its cover, because most people will see me and I just look like a normal guy. But talking to me, I'm not a normal guy. I know that. But like I said, trying to be an example to these kids isn't, it shouldn't be that hard. But more and more we realize that we are not paying attention to the kids them who is just around us, and we forget that we was their age at one point. Yeah. And there are too many of them going off the rails. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Seeing the world through young people's eyes, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And beyond young people's eyes, the community's eyes, and also the global eyes.
Exactly.
I wish you all the best on this venture. I think it's an astounding opportunity for anybody and everybody to get involved, because this is a community station.
It is.
Created by none other than you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for your time, Blacks.
Yeah, thanks. Nice speaking to you, yeah?
You too.
All right, then.
Thank you.
All right.